My heart hurt so bad. Like it felt like it had broken into 50 million pieces. What's up, everyone? It's Lex, and I'm back here with another video. As I mentioned in the previous video, the Get to Know Me video, I was going to be starting a Stillborn series. Now, I anticipate this series running for about maybe 10 or so videos. If that changes, it changes, but that's where I'm at right now with that. Now, before I get into the very first video in this series, I would love to kind of retract and clear something up from the very first video, which was my story of giving birth to a stillborn. And I mentioned a couple medical terms that I wasn't quite sure of. So I wanted to be sure that I did a little bit of research. I do have a note card here just to kind of keep track of, what I'm going to be talking about. And so, yeah, let's just get into it. So I mentioned that during the labor process, the doctor had to start my, she had to start my labor. She had to start my contractions for me because I didn't naturally contract myself and my uterus was completely closed. And she did so by basically using a Foley balloon catheter. That's what the medical term, that's what the medical name for that whole thing is. All right, so let's go ahead and get into today's video, which is going to be about grief. It has to be addressed when you talk about death. Now, I'm just gonna preface this by saying, I'm not a psychologist or anything. I'm just speaking to my experience and what I feel and what I have gone through so far. And the three things that I want to talk about with grief, I want to talk about what it is from my perspective, how long it will last for, and how I deal with it on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so what is grief? Grief to me, it's kind of like a really, really deep sorrow that someone can go through when they have lost somebody to death. And, I think it looks different. It comes in different forms. For example, I know for me, it took a toll on me the first week really hard, really, really hard. As soon as I left the hospital, I felt the grief come. And it took a toll on my body, so physically, emotionally, mentally. I wasn't there. I wasn't present. And so that, I felt like I experienced all of those changes at once. And it was very overwhelming, feeling like I couldn't eat, feeling weak, physically weak to the point where all I could do is really just lay down. Mentally, I remember people trying to talk to me and I wasn't there. I wasn't present. I wasn't in that moment. And, it could have been just because I had other things on my mind or I was just checked out. I was just checked out, and emotionally, I have never cried so much in my life. I have never cried so much in my life in that first week that I lost my baby. And I just felt really low for the first week. And I just remember saying to myself, I'm never going to get over that. I'm never going to get through this. My heart hurt. My heart hurt so bad. It felt like it had broken into 50 million pieces. Literally, I'm not exaggerating, 50 million pieces. That's what it felt like. And I just remember asking myself, how am I going to get through this? How? How am I going to get through another day? My baby, who I had anticipating coming for 7 months, is not here with me. So how am I going to get through it? And that brings me to the next point. How long does it last? And it's different for everyone. The first week, I can honestly say I felt like I was going to die. I felt like I was going to die. I felt like there were moments where I couldn't breathe. I felt like there were moments where I didn't feel like I had a purpose. I felt like there was no other reason to be here. And because, for that 7 months, I had made all these plans in my life to better myself. Well, both my husband and I, to better ourselves, whether it was our career or just, our relationship with each other to be better for King. I felt like all that stuff just kind of crumbled. And I remember telling my husband, like, it's hard for me to feel motivated right now. I lacked motivation. And so I lost it for a good week. I didn't feel like I could do it. I didn't feel like I could move. And so I just remember laying in bed and saying, what am I going to do? And I've always been the type of person to just bounce back with anything. But I had never dealt with the loss of a person. In my 25 years of living, I've never dealt with it up until this point. And it sucks because it was my baby. Any other, and I hate to say this, but any other person, I feel like I would be able to just get over it. But because he was mine, I didn't know how I was going to get through it. So I just remember I was laying in the bed, and my husband and I, we started watching these like online sermons, and I started watching T.D. Jakes and Joyce Meyer. And I'm not sure whose sermon I was watching, whether it was T.D. Jakes or Joyce, but I remember hearing one of them say, God will not bless you until you finish mourning. He won't put it in the works until you finish mourning. And I don't know why, but that really hit me. I want to get my blessings. I want my blessings. And one of the things that I really, really want, I want another baby. I want another baby for my little baby boy. I want him to have a brother or a sister. And so when I heard that, it just hit me real hard, and I said, you know what? I gotta move. I gotta move. And as long as I am stuck, I will never grow. And I didn't want to feel stuck. And let me tell you, I felt really stuck. The first week, I felt so stuck. I felt like life was just moving, and I wasn't. Life was just moving, and I wasn't. And so, going back to the question, how long will it last? No one knows how long it will last. I don't know how long it will last. Okay? And from what I hear, everyone says that grief is a lifelong process. They say you'll never completely get over it. You'll just learn how to deal with it. But something that I wanted to add to that is that, yes, you will learn how to deal with it, but you will find happiness in it. You will find happiness in this devastating situation. And I know that, God chooses his own time to reveal things to us, why things happen. And I know it's not going to happen on my time, but I know that eventually God will reveal King's purpose. And sometimes I think I kind of even get a glimpse of what his purpose was. Like I can definitely say, like, my husband and I have grown so much closer because of this. Other relationships within my family that, they were kind of rocky, they have started flourishing. And so I'm not sure if that was King's divine purpose for being here for such a short time, but I do know that he has had an impact. If he has had an impact. So if those things that I just mentioned aren't the sole purpose of King's existence here for, that night, or even while he was just in my belly, I know it's going to be something great. I know it is. I know it. And so, how long does it last? It might last forever, but that's okay. And lastly, I want to address how I deal with it. How I deal with it personally. So, for me, I have been writing to my baby in a journal. My mom got me a journal, and I didn't quite know what I was going to be using it for. Normally, when people give me stuff, it just kind of just sits on the dresser. But it came at the perfect time. And she got me this journal, and maybe a week after I had the first week, and it was a really bad week, I said, okay, I'm going to start writing to him. And it basically makes me feel like I'm talking to him, and I know that I can talk to him anytime that I want to, but just writing it down, seeing the words, it's very therapeutic, and it really helps me process my thoughts. So writing in my journal every day, and I make a great effort to not miss any days, to write every single day, just telling him how my day went, what I did. If I miss him, if I'm angry, I can write those feelings out. Now, the first week when I was grieving, and when I started grieving, I naturally, I think it's you want to find people who are going through what you're going through, because it's comforting. It's nice to feel like you're not by yourself. But I'm gonna say this: I don't think that anybody, even if they are dealing with the death of a stillborn, every situation is different. Every situation is different. I honestly believe that. And so I joined a Facebook group, and it blew my mind at how many women were literally going through this every minute. Every minute. And so that did bring me a lot of comfort, and just being able to have conversations with women who understood. And so, but what I realized the week after was that for me, it started to bring me down. Seeing the constant sad stories. And so let me say this. It served a purpose during that time, which I needed it to be, in that group, that Facebook group. It served a purpose because it gave me hope when I didn't feel hopeful. And so now I think that I'm moving into a new phase of grief where I don't need that. And who's to say? I might revisit it. I might go back, and if I'm feeling a certain way on a certain day, I think it is a great resource. But for me, it was only beneficial for that week. Let's see, journals, the groups, and just talking. Now, you have to be careful with this, because you can't talk to everyone about it. You can't, because everyone doesn't understand, and everyone's not wired the same way. And so, I had a really big eye-opener, with a pretty good friend of mine. And I just felt like when I tried to talk to this person, they weren't as receptive and responsive as I would have liked them to be. And it hurt. It hurt because you expect, because people are close to you and they care about you, that they not even understand, but that they try to understand it. But then it it hit me like everyone is wired differently. You know, some people don't know what to say. But for me, talking about it to people that I know can handle it and who I know are going to try their very best to understand and put themselves in my shoes. And I know it's hard to hear, I understand, because guess what? The bottom line is they don't understand. They're not in your shoes. They do not understand what you're going through. Now, they may know what it feels like to have the feeling, to feel like their heart has been ripped out of them due to another situation, but not this situation. So, I mean, you have to be very selective with who you talk about it with, but just talking about it, like, I love hearing my baby's name. I love it. I love saying his name. It makes me happy. I love talking about what he looked like. I love talking about, you know, when we got to hold him and just be with him. I like it. Now, that's not to say that I am ready to handle certain things. Like when we left the hospital, they gave us a memory box, and it has like his footprints in it. It has pictures, a blanket, some really nice things in there. And I kind of just told my mom, hey, just tuck it away. I don't want to see it right now. You know, it's still even hard for me to look at pictures, certain pictures, because it just hurts. So I think everything comes at the time in which it needs to come. And I think that's you know, kind of God's way of monitoring what I can handle. You know, he doesn't want to give me anything that I can't handle. He'll give me just enough. And so I think when the time is right, I will be able to look at those pictures and revisit his memory box. I hope that you guys have found this video somewhat informative. Even if it wasn't, I hope that I was able to comfort someone or give some insight to someone who's maybe going through this or something similar. In the next video, I will be talking about some great resources that are out there. You know, hotlines, Facebook groups, you know, grievance counseling, all of that stuff. So stay tuned for the next video. It will be going up next week. I'm really looking forward to this. Please comment. Let me know if there's anything that you guys want to see. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Please subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time.